Facebook friends. So I'm sitting here on my sofa, gazing out the window and holding Bella, who's totally demolishing my hand. And I'm pondering, because I don't know about you guys, but many times on a Monday, my mind is busy. It's so active and busy, and it's thinking about the to-do list of the week, not only for my work life, my home life, my children. It's just so active. And you know what? Sometimes before I even get out of the house on a Monday, my mind is already taking me to places of overwhelm. And I have come to understand that that is dangerous. That is dangerous. Did you guys know our thoughts are so inherently powerful? I'm not telling you this because out of my own knowledge. I'm coming at this from the perspective of two places. One is scripture, and two is the most fascinating place where neuroscience is starting to catch up with the truths of scripture, which is amazing and fascinating and mind-blowing. It makes my heart just surge, right? So I'm going to give you a little info. Now, some of this comes from the research of Christian neuroscientist Dr. Carolyn Leaf. If you haven't heard of her, you should look her up. Her research is amazing. I want you to think of this. What you think upon. We use the fancy word in clinical terms, perseverate, which is just what you think about and you think on over and over and over again. Works like this. You know, I live in rural Iowa, and we have gravel roads, dirt roads all over the place, and people drive their vehicles, their pickups, their big heavy loaded vehicles on these gravel roads over and over and over again. And what happens over time is when you drive your vehicle on these gravel roads enough, you create ruts in the road. It's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just what happens when you drive a vehicle on gravel enough times. Well, our brains are a lot the same. The more you think on a thing, good, bad, or otherwise, you have a superhighway of neural connections from neuron to neuron in your brain. And the more you travel that thought pattern, the deeply more embedded grooves become in your brain, like a gravel road with ruts. Now, some of these grooves can work to your benefit. Many of these grooves that you've been thinking on over and over for most of us, our entire life, do not serve us well, but are instinctual and become our belief system that we believe are true, even if they're not based on any truth. We've just thought about them over and over and over again. Well, Dr. Carolyn Leaf takes it a bit further. She says, really, for all of us, we really only have two kinds of thoughts. We either have life-affirming thoughts, things that tell us about the world around us, about the God who loves us, and about who He created us to be and what we are to do in this world with others in our life, that are life-affirming thoughts. Or we have toxic, death-affirming thoughts. Really, it only boils down to those two types of thoughts, life-affirming or death-affirming thoughts in our mind. Death-affirming thoughts would be all of the bad thoughts, all of the shame-based thoughts, all of the things that literally make us feel worse about ourselves, doubt God and His plans and purposes and love for us, and our purpose in the world. The things that literally we can feel within our heart and our gut that drag us down and make us feel sick and less and worthless and isolated. Now, The thing about this from a neuroscientist perspective is this is really cool, because many of us as Christians tend to look at scripture and we view it very metaphorical, like God is he's telling us stories and we know that they're true, but there's not the physical evidence of truth. Faith without sight, right? But neuroscience is showing us that there are some areas where we have actual physical truth. For instance, when we allow ourselves to perseverate, to think over and over and over on these negative, death-affirming thoughts, a certain type of protein is made in the brain. They can actually see it on on studies of the brain. And what those proteins look like in the brain are dry, withered up trees of neural connection that look dried and withered and dead. And the more we think upon them, they create inflammation in the body. And there are many researchers in the areas of cancer and physical sickness who say so much of our sickness is geared from our negative, our death, our toxic thought patterns. You guys, did you hear me? Our negative thought patterns grow proteins that can be seen in the brain that actually create and promote physical pain, physical inflammation, and ultimately physical death. And what about the converse? What happens when we think on these positive, life-affirming thoughts, when we plant ourselves beside the streams of living water, when we read the scriptural truths and we meditate on them and we listen to them with our ears, even when our hearts feel darkened? What happens then? You guessed it. A different type of protein is made in the brain, one that can actually be seen at a microscopic level that looks like full-blown orchards of living trees. I don't think this is any accident or coincidence, the language of trees that God uses over and over in Scripture. It's not just a metaphor. I don't think it's also an accident that God says that we can choose for us this day. Do we choose life or do we choose death? What if that's actually really, truly a choice? What if we can actually make those decisions and choices by what we allow ourselves to think? Did you guys know that pity parties are no longer a luxury? Soaking and marinating in despair is not a luxury that we can engage in because it makes us sick, mind, body, soul. And what I love about God is He loves every bit of us, our mind, our bodies, and our souls, just the way we are today, not our cleaned up, sugar-coated versions. He loves us just as we are today. And He calls us and equips us, and He challenges us, and He sustains us and strengthens us to say, think on the things that are lovely and pure. Think on the things that I have given in my word. Follow me, know me, discern my voice. Discern my voice in, with, and through your thoughts throughout the day. Choose life. I'm going to pull up, there's a section of scripture, I was finding it today, that comes from Psalm version. We get to choose. We get to choose. So this day, as I look out the window on a drizzly, gray, rainy Monday in Iowa, I'm thinking on His words, and I'm thinking the truth and the power of His words. And I pray that you do the same. No pity parties, no shame-based woe is me thinking. We can't entertain it. And what I would say is join with others who promote life in your thought process, that fill your well, that fill your tank, that challenge you to remember and recall the truths of the Lord, that don't pull you towards negativity. You can't afford them. We can't afford them. Anyway, have a great day on this Monday. Fill your brain to the brim of all that God has promised. It is good. Thanks, guys.